Hi everyone, it's Michael, and I am starting a less than pleasant series that I am going to call The Problem Children. And I sure hope that Problem Children does not become a prequel to the In Loving Memory series that I already do. But really the concept behind Problem Children is these are the plants that I don't know what they want from me. I don't know what to do differently to make them okay. So I'm just going to kind of spotlight the ones that I'm struggling with and open it up to the community to see what insights you guys have, if there's any best practices you've observed, if there's any good fixes. So we're going to go ahead and jump in with number 18. This is my Zygogonia, and I actually do think it's recovering, but it has just been so start and stop. You can see that a lot of the new growths that were coming in rotted away. I added a top layer of sphagnum moss and it seems to be doing a lot better. I do think this is due for a repot. Sometimes I think when it goes up and down like that, part of it has to do with the old root system that is rotting away in the inside and releasing those gases. So I think that there's only so much flushing I can do that will help to resolve it. I think at some point it needs to be unpotted and those old decaying roots need to be removed. So that's my theory. I'm not sure. I run the risk of completely just killing the plant if I unpot it. But at a certain point, and I hope I don't seem callous when I say this, at a certain point when you've struggled with an orchid for a very, very long time, you kind of think to yourself like, well, is that the worst thing if I change something and it dies? Like either die or live, but just like don't do this weird in between thing. Which is very insensitive, and I do want it to live, obviously. But it does have this new growth coming in, which is really lovely, and I hope that continues to gain momentum. But you can even see the way it grew in. It kind of struggled. It stuck to itself. The humidity level is... God, those fungus gnats. I still can't. I can't deal with it. I'm going to go to Home Depot and get some traps today because they got to go. But you can see the way that the leaves grew in, it's just kind of wrinkled and not super appealing. So hopefully I can get this guy back on track soon. Now we're going to jump from number 18 to number 29. This is my Eulaphia petersi. Now, I actually do think I have a pretty good solution for this one. So this is a desert orchid, and Google it, you guys. It is a stunning plant. The second I saw it, I went on eBay and I found it. I needed it, but it's just never quite done very well for me. And it's, I think, in large part due to my insistence on growing this semi-hydroponically. As I'm discovering with a lot of my plants, some plants just don't like semi-hydro. And for a long time, I tried to force every plant into semi-hydro. This one has miraculously put out one very stunted growth, and it's putting out another one now. But these really want to be cultivated almost like cactus or a succulent. So you can see I purchased some cactus and succulent soil mix, and I'm going to get this repotted with a slight variation. But I'm going to get it potted into the grow method that it classically thrives in and see how that impacts things. So hopefully that'll change this one's trajectory. Now we're going to jump to number 33. This is my Dendrobium tangerinum. I bought this one off of eBay. You might remember this started to really struggle with bacterial rot when I left for business travel, and I forgot to have Justin open the window to ensure that there was proper circulation and air movement. But if I take you in, the new growth has just dropped all of its leaves. The new cane is starting to die back, and you can see all of this black scale. I don't know what that is formally, but certainly not appealing. Lots of white mold on the sphagnum moss. So I'm just continuing to flush with this guy. I gave it a treatment with hydrogen peroxide. I didn't unpot it. I just sprayed it down with hydrogen peroxide, but nothing is seeming to really help. So that's what's going on with number 33. Now we're going to jump. I actually have it sequestered off all the way by itself. Over here we have number 36. This is my SVO Black Pearl Fred Clarkiara. Now it finally, after all of this time, put out a new growth. But I don't know if you guys can see, it is covered in spider mites, which you can see it actually started to give me flower spikes. It gave me a very impressive new growth last year. You can see how big the pseudobulb is compared to the previous growth that I purchased it with. It gave me a beautiful pseudobulb, but I ended up forcing the flower spikes to abort because I treated it with an alcohol spritz to get rid of the spider mites that erupted all over it. And now, as the new growth is finally pushing itself out, it has spider mites. So I don't really know how to resolve this. Maybe you guys have some ideas. I don't want to do a treatment on it because obviously this is still dormant. I don't want it to rot by introducing water into the equation too early, but I just don't know what can be done to really treat this problem. So that's what's going on with number 36. Now back into the sequence with the ones that aren't being isolated. This is number 39. This is my Zygogonia cynosure, and it actually just bloomed for me off of this immature growth, which is now starting to rot. As you can see, this growth isn't doing fantastic. It's kind of floppy. It doesn't seem super well established. It's been trimmed down because the leaves were rotting. And those are the only leaves it has left to photosynthesize. So I'm not quite sure what will become of this. And I was so excited when I saw this flower spike arise because I thought to myself, hey, this really must be a great indicator that it is bouncing back. But I think that there's a really strong possibility that it was kind of its last will and testament. That's one of the remarkable things about orchids, you guys. If an orchid feels like it's gonna die, sometimes it'll force out a flower spike so that it can reproduce sexually, knowing that it can't sustain its life regularly. I know that seems weird and backwards, but I've seen it happen a few times now. When an orchid is unhealthy and towards the tail end of its life, it'll kind of force its way into bloom in the hopes of attracting a pollinator and in the hopes of being able to reproduce sexually. It's almost like they commit suicide. It's really bizarre because it takes all of the plant's energy to sustain that flower spike. So, I do think that's maybe what's happening here. That's a weird theory of mine. I don't know if there's any real science to substantiate it, but it's just something that I've seen enough to really wonder. So that's what's going on with my Zygogonia cynosure. Now let's move on to my Spathoglottis plicata. Now this one was actually declared dead a long time ago, and then Justin would not let me throw it away because he insisted that there was still energy in the pseudobulbs. He was right, and the pseudobulbs threw out these new growths. Now you'll notice that there are no longer any pseudobulbs, and I wish I had filmed the repotting video. I just didn't have time to do it. I went and repotted it because it just was not like these. You can see the tips on all of the leaves started to die back. So I was like, obviously it's not happy. I went ahead and repotted. And as I was repotting, the old pseudobulbs just disintegrated in my hands. It was so bizarre. I've never seen anything like it. But the pseudobulbs that managed to sustain these new growths were completely hollow. They were like paper and almost like dust. They like fell apart. It was super, super crazy. So now there are no more energy reserves to sustain this plant. So either these new growths are going to really excel and evolve into fully mature pseudobulbs, or they are not. So this one is it's right at a threshold, and I'm not sure what's going to happen from here, but I just wanted to show you that. Now we're going to jump to a number 46 in the collection. This is my Oncidium Twinkle Mini. And this one just y'all, it's just not doing good. I think I need to unpot it and get rid of that pseudobulb and that pseudobulb, but it's just losing pseudobulb after pseudobulb, you guys. So what I did with this one, though, I put it in the window. I had it in bright indirect light, but I'm putting it directly in the window. When I have plants that are kind of in this weird mid-zone when they're not thriving and they're not dying, I like to move plants into the light, and the reason I do that is either it's going to accelerate the process of their decline so I can resolve the situation faster, or that light level is going to really give the plant the energy it needs to do something different. So that's what I'm doing with this one, but I do think I might need to remove those dead pseudobulbs or the dying pseudobulbs. Just a thought. Now, lastly, I'm going to show you, this is my number 49. This is my Burtfield Eileen Miltoniopsis. And this one has been really peculiar because it did well, and then it did poorly, and then it did well, and then it did poorly. So when when I forgot to have Justin open the window during one of my business travels to refresh and circulate the air, this new growth that had been doing really well started to die back. I trimmed off the dying leaves, and now it seems to be bouncing back, and it has another new leaf coming in right at the dead center. I'm not sold on the idea that this one's really excelling yet, so I always feel incredibly uncertain with this plant specifically. But that's what's going on with my Miltoniopsis. So there you have it, guys. These are the problem children. These are the plants that I am currently struggling the most with and that I'm the most uncertain about. But I just wanted to offer that snapshot to you so you guys can see what's going on, and also really open it up to you if you have any insight or feedback that you think could be beneficial towards really approaching these scenarios. Especially, I really, really want to resolve this because I love this plant and I managed to grow such an impressive bulb on it, and I know it can do really well. I just need to figure out how to take care of these damn spider mites. So having said all that, thank you guys so much for choosing to spend your time with me. If you have any questions, concerns, or feedback, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. Don't forget to support one another in the comments section. Be kind to one another, share knowledge. Don't forget to click subscribe, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye, guys.